Let's look at the part about filial piety given by God in Deuteronomy chapter 5. The fading of good traditional values, including those upholding the principles of filial piety, respect towards parents, and established traditions, is a notable phenomenon in today's society. As material wealth increases and individualism becomes rampant, we find ourselves in an era where people cannot tolerate their own discomfort. Therefore, it is deeply saddening to see news of children harming their parents. However, we should not learn from or imitate this wicked generation, but rather follow the teachings of reverence given by God, being fully filial to our parents within the will of father and mother, and also fulfilling our duties of filial piety to our spiritual parents. Let's move on to Deuteronomy, chapter 5, verse 16. Honor your father and your mother, as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live long, and that it may go well with you in the land the Lord your God is giving you. We can see that the recurring theme, honor your parents and learn to be filial, is highlighted throughout the Bible. Then, among the 66 books of the Bible, God has provided an example for us to learn filial piety. Today, we will examine the filial piety of Ruth and the filial piety of heavenly children towards God. Let me briefly summarize the contents of chapter 1 of the book of Ruth. There was an Israelite woman named Naomi who had two sons named Kilian and Mahlon. The names of Kilian and Mahlon's wives were Orpah and Ruth. The family lived in the region of Moab, where they faced various hardships, including a famine, eventually leading them to return to their homeland of Israel. They were originally from Bethlehem. Naomi's husband dies, and then her two sons, Kilian and Mahlon, also die. Thus, in the end, only 3 people in the family, Naomi, the mother-in-law, and Orpah and Ruth, her daughters-in-law, were left alive and had no choice but to return to their hometown. In a society heavily reliant on agriculture during those days, there was plenty of work available for men, but limited opportunities for women. Therefore, even if they followed Naomi, the 2 daughters-in-law would not have had the means to make a living. Additionally, feeling sorry for merely taking in her 2 daughters-in-law, Naomi intended to send them back to their hometowns, saying, "Go back to your hometown and remarry, so that you can live the rest of your life with purpose and not in loneliness." Orpah attempted to stay with her mother to the end, but ultimately returned to her hometown, whereas Ruth questioned, "If I leave my mother-in-law alone, who will look after her? She has no sons, and her husband died." Ruth declared, "I will follow you to the end. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Please do not ask me to return to my homeland." Despite being a Moabite and not an Israelite, Ruth committed herself to Naomi, asserting, "Your God will be my God, and your people will be my people. Therefore, please retract your words, asking me to go back." With the resolve to sacrifice herself, she chose to follow her mother-in-law. This story is captured in the book of Ruth. Isn't it true that our spiritual lives, once condemned to death, now exist today amidst abundant love and blessings from God, all due to His holy sacrifice? Therefore, you and I must become individuals who show God filial acts of devotion, mirroring the example of Ruth.